welcome back. I hope after the coffee you have more energy. So I need first to thank Nikolaos and Mr. Baltatzis for the invitation in this very nice forum. So we will deal with ship management and what's next. I will initiate this forum and then I will pass to our panelists. We have today some very influential members of Maritime industry with us. Mr. Mark O'Neill, President and CEO of Columbia Shipmanagement. Mr. Prabhat, CEO of MSC Shipmanagement. Mr. Roine Ahlquist, Manager, Director of Oceanic Maritime Management. Mr. Theo Baltatzis, Managing Director of Technomar Shipping. And Mr. Terence, Zhao, Managing Director of Singhai Marine. So we all know that the maritime business is one of the most complex and globalized industries that involves a lot of people working around the world. The previous year, maritime industry had some prolonged crisis. We see the last year some signs of recovery, but it's not in the level that we wish to be. Maritime industry also was a very conservative industry, but now we have to look at new ways of working in order to improve our operating costs and make the management companies more efficient. And also we have to find ways to adapt to the new environmental regulations that are coming. What new we have? We have big data management, digitalization, green shipping are some of the concepts that the maritime industry is working these days. And also we want to find ways to be more acceptable to the public and to the environmentalists. So how we go with this in the future? We have to reduce CO2 levels and how this will influence the overall operation of the ship management companies. So what's the best way for this? New fuel types, LNG, batteries, renewables. So this is under discussion the last years. Also, slow steaming by reducing the voyage speed to reduce the fuel consumption is something that is proposed from many ship management companies. Mining will be also going to big changes in the next years. Are we going to autonomous ships? And what will be the percentage of the jobs on board that will be transferred to shore? Are we ready for the new way of working? So we will try to get some ideas from the people we have here today that will drive these changes. Other issues also are trying with maritime industry will use the lessons learned from the previous period of crisis and in order to adjust to the new requirements and recover from this crisis. Bank financing was one of the biggest issues the last years. It has to be further improved to finance ships. The new regulations require high capital and a big number of companies might not be able to adapt. So we might see a new environment in ship management companies. We have less companies and bigger companies. So the economies of scale will be more intense and consolidation of different services combine different shareholders of the industry might be the way forward. So let's go to questions. I will start with Mr. Baltatzis. Mr. Baltatzis, artificial intelligence rise in the near future will affect our operations. How could third-party managers capitalize on artificial intelligence developments versus traditional ship management? And how technological explosion coming ahead of us will affect the running cost of the vessels?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Nikolaos. You took me by surprise. I thought I was fourth online, but it happens to be first now. Nevertheless, you mentioned two scary words, artificial intelligence. These are two indeed scary words for everybody dealing with shipping. What exactly is artificial intelligence? That's first to clear that first, and then we'll take it into the shipping world. Artificial intelligence is not just machines doing acts like humans were doing. That's automation. Artificial intelligence, machine thinking and reacting as a human would have done. That's very remote indeed. Artificial intelligence is reliant on data. And nowadays, the shipping industry develops substantial capabilities of collecting data. That eventually will help artificial intelligence. Moving a step forward, we could, in broad terms, of course it's beyond this panel to analyze artificial intelligence, but in broad terms, we have 4 main categories. The following: it's reactive machines, machines of limited memory, it is the theory of minds, and self-awareness. I'll be very brief. Reactive machines are basically computers. What they do, they just act on predetermined rules and they give a reaction to the system. Limited memory devices are computers again, but they go a little bit further back and they have limited access to past doings and they react accordingly to external inputs. I give you a very simple example, that's in automotive industry. The autonomous car that goes from A to B, it has dynamic data taken from sensors around the car and put them on a static data, which is a map. The other 2 categories are indeed science, but they move towards science fiction. I don't think that for the foreseeable future this will be applied into shipping. Of course, everybody's in shipping. When they think about artificial intelligence, they think about autonomous shipping. That's good. But it is not only that. There are even more interesting activities that we are involved on a daily basis that eventually are going to help us, and there's a lot of work done on these activities. And I'll give you a few examples just to break the point. One very simple example is the optimization of our shipping process. Just think one container ship that is sailing from Singhai to Piraeus and then has to go probably to Joyatao and then has to go probably to Rotterdam, and all of a sudden Piraeus has a strike and they have to omit the port. Can you imagine what kind of computational parameters I have to be put forward in order to decide what they're going to do with probably 4,000 TEUs that they have to be offloaded in Piraeus? Probably they need 10 people working for 2 or 3 days in order to finalize what it has to be done. Artificial intelligence supposed to help us and give us, let's say, these decisions and what it has to be done probably in 1 minute. That kind of, let's say, activities are involved in daily operations. Of course, we have also diagnostics and prognostics, especially on machinery and ship structures. These are other parameters that we have to deal with. We have indeed projects going along with humans, with involved on ships with speech recognition parameters. All these may sound very remote, but I could say that in the foreseeable future they're going to be in front of us, and we have to deal with how easy it's going to be absorbed within the industry, because as our chairman earlier on said that it was passion that drives shipping. Indeed, it is, shipping is driven by passion. However, probably not us, but our children or grandchildren will have to drive an industry which is done mostly by decisions taken by computers. I'm not talking about Mr. Tsavlis about financial decisions, but indeed operational decisions that we are concerned with. Now, being an engineer, preventive maintenance, it's something that it bugs us, not only us, but also third-party managers. And the capability of handling data and analyzing data indeed has to move towards the fixed time maintenance parameters, to move to a more, let's say, custom-made maintenance schedule for each ship that eventually is going to cost money and being a little bit more safely operational from our side. Now, the main question was, is going to be a difference between third-party managers and traditional ship owners like we are as in Technomar? I gave a really huge thought about that, but I don't really find any competitive advantage that each one of them might have, because artificial intelligence is driven by out sources from the shipping industry. We have to implement it, but we cannot really develop artificial intelligence programs and parameters that will help a lot. Anyway, that's my personal opinion, but probably we have also people on the panel that they can comment from the other side of the river, being traditional third-party managers.
Thank you, Theo. So we'd like to go to Mark now. Two questions combined to one. So talk about digitalization and performance optimization. How can shipping companies differentiate as service providers? And also, you can also give us your ideas about the new models for future ship management.
Thank you. I think the first thing to say is ship management is not rocket science. You know, it's break it down into its component part. It's a relatively simple function, and we've seen quite a bit of debate in the press over the last few months about the justification for third-party managers. Are third-party managers better at doing what they do than traditional owners, operators? And I think that, I'm sure that debate wasn't started by the owners, operators. It was sort of miscued intentionally, perhaps, by the press, but it's kind of missing the point. There is absolutely no reason why third-party managers shouldn't do as good a job as owners, operators. In fact, every reason why they should be able to do a better job if they care as much as the owner operator does about his or her fleet, and they have the levels of investment and economies of scale. At Columbia, we've always focused on being relevant, compelling, and a service partner. And if you break that down into its component parts, what does relevant mean? I think to succeed in the future, we have to give clients what they want. We have to give them a procurement platform. We have to give them technical management at a level that they have within their own organisation or better. We have to give them crewing management at the same levels that they have or better, with greater focus and perhaps greater resources being dedicated to training that they would maybe have. We have to give them operational management. We have to give them IT structures and insurance and claim functions that perhaps they don't have. And we have to treat, when we give those services, we have to give those services to the small clients just as much as the big clients. So the small client with one ship's got to feel as though he or she is as important to us and we care about his or her vessel as much as if it was our own vessel, as if it was a 100-vessel fleet. Then we have to be compelling. So that's the second element of a success for a ship manager, I think. And compelling means not only we have to give clients what they need, but they must come to us. And why must they come to us? Because we can deliver levels of optimization better than perhaps they can. And this is all about optimization. You know, the world of shipping going forward is all about doing things more for less and better than we were able to do before. The Amazons and the Alibabas of the future are going to demand that, whether you're a small operator or a big operator or a small manager or a big operator. So we have to achieve optimization to make ourselves compelling. We have to achieve economies of scale. So the argument that the small manager can achieve the same economies of scale as the big one is, I'm afraid, not sustainable. You can definitely achieve economies of scale through size. Doesn't mean you're better at all, and doesn't mean that there isn't still a niche market, but you have to achieve those economies of scale to be able to service the market in the future. And we have to also, to be compelling, achieve levels of investment that, again, some of the small operators and owners might not be able to do. For instance, in our performance optimization control room that we've recently launched, not a lot of owners or operators might be able to do that. We're able to do that for our clients, and our clients can benefit from that. So by coming together, we're all able to benefit. Then the fourth component is service. I think managers sometimes forget, and none of them sitting on this panel hasten to add, sometimes forget that we are just a service provider. We're nothing special. In the same way, companies have cleaners and accountants and lawyers. We're all service providers to our clients, and we have to be market focused and client focused. We have to give our clients what they want, not the Columbia way, but their own tailored, non-commoditized service, be it third-party management, be it second-party management, be it joint venture, be it their people inside our house or our people inside their house. It really doesn't matter. We have to be client service orientated. And I think some of the management companies out there who may have lost their way, with no names or insinuations, but companies have lost their way, perhaps have lost their focus on this service and lost their focus on being non-commoditized, client-focused. They're perhaps too interested in the other services and not about the manager. And the last point is partner. I really do think that partnership's easy to talk about, very, very difficult to put into practice. We as a manager, whether we're a second-party manager or third-party manager, really have to be partners with our clients. They've got to feel as part of their organisation through the good times and the bad, sharing the good times and also sharing the pain. And to do that, you've got to care. And you've got to care about your clients' vessels as much as if they're your own vessels. And that's why I think sometimes, we do have some vessels within our fleet that our shareholder does own. Sometimes that helps insofar as we adopt the same mentality, that caring for each of our vessels as though they're our own. And if you do that, I think that's the recipe for success. I think it's the recipe for success now, and I think it's the recipe for success going forward, whether our clients are the one ship owner or the Alibabas and the Amazons of the future. Everyone will require a manager that cares going forward.
Thank you, Mark. So I understand that it's not the way how you run the business, it's just to care to the client. Today and tomorrow.
You've got to care. You've got to run the business, but you've got to care as well.
Thank you. So I will go to Roine Ahlquist. Roine, you are a ship owner. So can you please tell us how the closer integration or collaboration between three-party managers and service providers and the owners can help maritime business for a better day-to-day of running of the vessel in higher standards?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, of course, and this is spinning a little bit further on what Mark has already said. But Oceanic Marine is an asset manager handling ships on behalf of Tufton Oceanic, and our fleet has grown quite substantially over the last few years, and we have thereby expanded our ship manager network quite extensively. Now we have ship managers in excess of 10 managers on our books, and we're continuously looking at ways to integrate and collaborate in a better way with these managers. And the way that we look at the opportunity for ourselves and for ship managers providing us services in the future is a much closer tie and an honest and commercially aware provision of service where people actually genuinely care about your asset, which is what Mark was saying. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our investors to provide the best possible care and service to the vessels to generate the returns that we have committed to providing, and therefore we need and look for partners who are capable of providing us with that genuine service, and that we can sleep at night under the awareness that somebody's looking after my asset in the way that I would like it to be done, which is in the way of somebody who actually owns the ship. Industry is facing regulations which will have a massive commercial impact, environmental changes which will change the way that the industry acts, the dynamics of the industry. We must work with partners, and we look to work with partners, and the partners that we already work with, we're working with them to understand that adaptation to change is something crucial. Providing the same service or the same level of service without change in the next 10 years is simply going to make you irrelevant, and that's something that the whole industry has to look at. We put a lot of trust and faith by putting our assets with the various managers, and we expect something back, clearly. Consolidation has changed the ship management industry quite a lot over the last few years. consolidation drives change. And if you're falling behind on that curve of change, you will become irrelevant. And that's something that nobody wants. And it alters business models. So what we typically look for when we work with partners in the industry, and we hope, and we're actually seeing that the ship management industry is moving towards more transparency, which is obviously key to any business relationship and personal relationship for that matter. Integration, I'm not talking necessarily about IT or IT solutions, I'm talking also about people across both companies. So you have a relationship from the top to the bottom between the manager and the owner so that everybody understands what is the agenda, everybody understands what's coming next. And there's a genuine dialogue to drive forward towards the changes and make the alterations that's required to exist and to be competitive. Value-added services. Is a value-added service providing a purchasing platform across a large number of ships? Yes, it is, but is that the one that necessarily makes a difference in your service provisioning? In my opinion, perhaps not. Beyond the regular services, commercial awareness, commercial understanding, take away some of the load and workload that the owners have to deal with, despite having an outsourced service that we're paying for. Taking away some of these capabilities from, or removing some of these workload from us by providing that capability from the ship management industry is likely to lead to higher fees, higher fee opportunities, because it's something that's actually worth something and it's worth paying for. Quality and commitment, I think I heard from Mark repeated a couple of times, which is key. And then differentiating yourself and making yourself be a bit different. It's not about management fees exclusively, although the financial component is of course important, but it is providing a service that you can trust, that you can feel good about, and that you have a partner that you can rely on when it's actually quite windy outside, as it is right now.
Thank you, Roine. So let's move to Prabhat. So Prabhat, how the new regulatory landscape and environment technology can offer a unique opportunity for the ship management to reinvest itself and reposition itself as an indispensable party in the global supply chain. What steps have been taken or planned in this direction?
Thank you, Nikolaos. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe just before this panel, you didn't hear a word ship manager. Everybody was talking about the owners, engine builders, refineries, makers. Where are the ship owners, ship managers? And this exactly is my topic that today. I'm not talking about a third-party ship manager or own ship manager. It is about the ship managers in general, that we need to raise our profile and seize this opportunity of this change to make a meaningful existence in this community today. Because today we are always at the mercy of all the regulatory bodies, or say the ship owners. They make their strategy and how they want to reorganize or run their fleet. And the ship managers are merely implementers of this decision. They are not the architects of this strategy. So, but my logic is that the ship managers are the one where there is a real expertise. And this is a time to really think that how do we want to evolve the ship management? How do we can make and capitalize on the expertise that the ship managers are having in the industry today? Everybody talks about the climate change, we're talking about the environmental regulations, we talk about the technology and innovation. Actually, we are, every 3 years everything is completely new. So this is the real time that we have to abandon the traditional approach that ship owners will instruct the ship managers and they will implement the policy. We talk about the IMO 2020, we talk about the decarbonization of the industry 2030, 2050, or we're talking about the superior data quality gathering or data analysis and everything. I strongly believe that it is only the ship managers in this whole stakeholder chain that has real expertise, and the ship owners have to really draw on this and make really capture the value out of this expertise that ship managers are having. We have seen also our fellow panelists talking about, there is a big disconnect between an asset owner and a ship manager today. And this, at the end, industry is losing out actually. I can say with my own personal experience, we have taken over a lot of second-hand ships and everything. When we told the owner, this is your vessel condition, he said, I didn't know about it. because the ship manager didn't exist for them. For them, the charter hire income is good enough to run their. So financial had always a priority over the ship manager. So this is a time I believe that all the ship owners across the industry really need to think, invite the ship managers based on their expertise and merits, and then call for a dialogue, because only this meaningful dialogue will involve the ship managers in developing or reorganizing the fleet and be an advisor from early on, and not just an implementer of the financial motive actually. This is really a time, I believe, for real ship managers to sign in the industry and really contribute to the society in a meaningful manner. In my opinion, the relation between the asset, the manager, and owner has to be very close and a long-standing one. And this is when you can see a different result. You can see very positive results, actually. We are living in an industry where I would say the thousands of ships are changing hand every year. They are being sold or being transferred from one manager or one owner to another manager. But we lose all the data in this transfer. Has anybody ever evaluated the impact of this loss? We are living in the Europe. We are used to GDPR. If you want to transfer yourself from a Facebook or Instagram to a different online social networking platform, you have an option that do you want to import your data from the other networking platform? Imagine a ship manager had this option to inherit the past data of a ship. What a wonderful world it have been, you know. We could capitalize on the data and make the economy and benefits from the day one. It does not exist. By the time you gather your own data and make a meaningful analysis, you lost really time. And so, I mean, this is something very, very basic to start with. This is what we talked about, you know, collaboration across the industry, actually. And of course, you know, I'm representing here the Mediterranean shipping company, MSC, and this is what we have seen the difference in engaging the ship management in the real shipping organization. We have people behind the various commercial desks in our headquarters in Geneva who have been working on the ship or who have been in the ship management center. We have the fleet performance team or people calculating the emission and energy efficiency who are not like the bean counters or the management consultants. They are deep rooted in the ship management industry. And this is where we can see the results are variable. You know, everybody talked here about the challenges, and I don't want to go into the debate, but I would just like to add up in the earlier discussion, Mr. Bamaris had said that there were two reasons, that people who missed the bus or who didn't have the finance. I would like to add a third one, the people who didn't go first cover, their ship manager did not have expertise actually. So even if you had the finance and the option, if you didn't have expertise, you cannot capitalize on this one. So all that I would like to say that it is really an opportune moment that the ship managers should contribute to the upcoming regulations, be a meaningful partner, and I'm sure that, you know, our colleagues from the ship management industry are going to be the star of the international shipping tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhat. One of the biggest headaches, I think, for our ship management is crewing. So I want Terence Zhao to give us some ideas about the manning of future ships, what will be the education and the training adjustments to prepare the future seafarers.
Thank you.
I have some slides on the screen to illustrate a bit about autonomous ships. Okay, now all of us talking about artificial intelligence. So what will be happening to our industry in the next couple of years? So actually this is a very big topic. It's very difficult to give very clear line when a fully autonomous ship will be coming. But one thing is for sure, if not fully, actually now we can see the automation technology has been applied on board our ships more and more. And this actually required a different kind of seafarers to work on board the ship. So how many years to go, we will have totally different kind of seafarers on board our ship. because in future, once we have more and more automation technology on board the ship, actually some of the function may be done ashore, not only on board the ship. So in future, our seafarers, we may have two types. It's shore-based and also on board. So for us, as a mining company, actually we really very care about the future mining for our ships. So not only the number, of course we know the number definitely will be decreasing, but also what kind of people, the competency level, the intelligence level, what kind of people we need to supply to our clients. So I just want to share with you what we have been doing in China. Last year, at Singhai, we established a working group with a few maritime universities in China, especially Dalian Maritime University. We will study a few issues. First, since the number of seafarers will be decreased for future mining, so very important, we come back to the origin of the supply chain. So how many students do we need to enroll into our maritime universities for their study? How many on deck? How many on engine? How many for ATOs? This actually is a really a big issue. A lot of uncertainty we are going to face. Okay, these two graphs actually reflect in the last 18 years. These contrast in the increase of supply and demand for the world shipping market for seafarers. Another one actually is in China, is the number of our students study in deck, engine, and ATOs. So you can see actually the enrollment scale always lower than the actual market trend. So in future, we may need less people, but actually we must react very faster than before. So this enrollment scale, actually we need to be very careful. We cannot train people, actually the number not enough, and also we cannot train too many of our students, so they cannot get job. Okay, so then we come back to the maritime education. Very important. The biggest challenge is still the quality. So in future, what kind of cadets we will have? What we want them to study in the college? Very important. Actually, the cadets definitely they need to make a big transform. It's not only for the knowledge, but also actually the competency driven, independent thinking. Of course, very important for this AI technology, the students eager to master up. So master more internet-related knowledges. So I will not come to the details because time is very limited. So then this come to the end in future. We hope in our mining industry, we will definitely provide those competent people able to meet our future ships mining. Thank you.
Thank you, Terence. This is a very big subject. I think everybody has something to say, but we don't have too much time. Maybe we need to make another panel only for Croy. I will give the podium to Mr. Tsavliris, if he wants to.
Two questions, if I may. We're talking about the perception of the ship management companies vis-a-vis ship owning companies. Because in the old-fashioned times, it would be the ship owner who would traditionally be he managed his own ships. Obviously, with the transformation of the ship management, we've got economies of scale, because obviously an owner who's got 4 or 5 ships cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, have the same economies of scale as when you're managing 30 or 40 or 100 ships, or even more than that, for that matter. There's 2 questions I want to ask. First of all, the earning structure. An owner has a direct benefit of his operational costs, and obviously he wants them to the minimum. The management company, albeit also wants to be operationally efficient, but don't you think that perhaps, I'd like to ask anybody who'd like to respond on the panel, is there a grey area between the tone of earning capacity of the traditional ship owner and the ship manager? The ship manager perhaps has a certain financial benefit or incentives in terms of the economy of scale, where he has a volume and where their earning capacity can be reflected as a manager, which would not necessarily be the same earning capacity as an owner. The second question is that with regard to limitation of liability and breaking the corporate veil, especially which we find in the US the last few years, do you find that a lot of owning companies choose management companies to run their ships, and in particular when they go to tankers or gas carriers or ships which literally can give rise to potential third-party liability claims with a view of ensuring that they've got the safeguard of not having the corporate veil broken? Thank you.
Shall I volunteer my answer when you sort of go down the line? I think the argument whether the owner somehow gives up some value in giving the service out is a bit like when you look at supermarkets, and there's no doubt that supermarkets can bulk buy and bulk deliver much better than perhaps the delicatessen on the corner shop, if we take the analogy of the owner as the delicatessen. And those supermarkets will very rapidly go out of business if all they're doing is bulk buying and bulk delivering. The success that we've seen of the Aldis that are sort of taking the UK by storm now is that they're able to bulk buy and deliver the quality that the delicatessen on the corner can. And I think that's the challenge. And I think if the owner is able to harness that with the right management company that can do that, then it's a win-win. He's getting the bulk buy and he's getting the quality every bit of as good a quality as he himself or she herself could do. So I think that's really, really important. I think that's where the industry is going. It's going from the bulk buying, just pure economies of scale, to economies of scale and quality. There's no doubt about it. We have to, as an industry, achieve the same or more, better levels of quality than the independent owner can. And it's a partnership. And then in respect of liability and potential liability, of course, isn't it better for, if we say a tanker operator, to offset risk? The tanker operator may just be investing in the asset and looking for the operational income. He can offset the risk, the operational risk, onto a manager who hopefully has the procedures and mechanisms in place to minimize that risk. But it's all about allocation, a proper allocation of risk, and the manager is probably the right place to allocate risk on operational matters. But it's my view.
Can I just add it, actually, you raise a very sensitive point, actually. The management fee should be actually no consideration when you're selecting a ship manager, because management fee represents a very, negligent part of the whole ship running fee, but this has the biggest impact on the whole ship operation. So it's only the very short-sighted asset players who look for a ship manager with the lowest management fee, because all that you will have at the end of the day is the asset which is of no value, actually. So how can you try to calculate a fee for an entity which has the biggest influence on the asset, actually? So this is actually for any serious ship owners, management fee is actually on the bottom of the consideration. This is what you can make out with somebody is serious or somebody is an asset player in the market.
Thank you for the market. If I just may comment on the first question, I think we're looking to emulate the typically classic vertically integrated ship owner by having partnerships and seeking those things that I mentioned earlier, which really bottoms down to two things: quality and commitment. There is surely some problems with incentives between managers and owners in the industry, and it's how to straighten out those incentive misalignments by having the dialogue and having a closer collaboration. I think that's what makes sense.
Allow me to comment, last comment. I fully agree with Mark regarding third-party managers. Of course, they are here and they have a reason to be here. Definitely, traditional ship owners would treat their ships, I believe, in a way that each individual owner has each individual explanations of what they're doing with their ships, which indeed third-party managers couldn't elaborate as much. I feel that for small ship owners, a third-party manager indeed is a safe port, but for a large ship owner, doing their own management, and they do also have economies of scale. And it is not, as Zhao said, the actual management daily fee, but at the end of the year or at the end of 3 or 4 years, if we draw the line and do the economics. That's where you can put some key performance indicators for the manager and also for the owner.
Thank you very much. Actually, we ran out of time. Mr. Chairman, maybe allow 1 or 2 questions from the crowd. Please. Yes, please.
Ship management roughly has 18% of the industry, meaning that 80% is in the hands of the owners. And we talk about consolidation. Would it be a good idea if ship management gets a bit more organized among themselves in order to take an active role in talking to IMO, building new rules, and in this way increase your clientele?
I think our chairman summed it up quite nicely at the beginning of the last panel. That the problem we face is that the industry doesn't come together enough, and that includes ship managers, in presenting a common voice and a common opinion. And I think that's a very good comment, Captain Adami, and that we should do so. And perhaps we are the right catalyst to encourage the industry to come together. To express opinion on these types of issues, and had we done so, then we wouldn't be facing the situation we are now with IMO 2020 and other situations. Yeah.
I would just like to add on. Actually, we had the opportunity to present the same fact to the IMO Secretary General when he visited last time in Cyprus, and actually, he said one of his ambition was to run a ship managing company. Actually, so he says, I really understand your pain. And this is that we need to come up what we want from the IMO, and they're ready to deliver, or possibly ready to listen. And this is, again, we can do it only in a collaborative manner between the ship owners, manager, and third-party ship managers, actually. But it is the time that we need to do something.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our panel. Thank you very much.